everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I think I'm starting to notice, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of co-presidents here. Are you noticing this, Mr. Producer? The same two guys in virtually every picture with the president. Reince Priebus and Steve Bannon. I think we've got kind of a multi-presidency going on here. That's pretty interesting. These executive orders are really remarkable, aren't they? And I've noticed a common theme in all of them. And we're thrilled with them, aren't we? This is a good thing. Freezing regulations, supporting life, no more subsidizing organizations that go overseas to promote and perform abortions. Excellent executive orders today, backing the building of oil pipelines and supporting energy production. Eliminating Obama's phony trade deal. I'm for trade deals if they're for trade, not for social engineering, and that's what Obama was all about, loaded with left-wing policies. Freezing federal hiring. Now, what's common about all these executive orders? They're quintessentially conservative. Not populist, nationalist, agrarian, mercantilist. They are conservative policies. That's why so many of you like them. That's why so many of the Rockettes and pom-pom dancers in radio and TV are dancing. And they don't even know it. The position on life has been a position conservatives have held since as long as I've been one. That was Reagan who instituted that policy. Freezing regulations. We did that too back in 1981. That's good. Supporting the building of pipelines for the movement of oil. We've all supported that. That's what we call capitalism. Freezing federal hiring. That's right, shrinking the federal government, a quintessentially conservative position. And so, in these respects, we have to be happy, those of us who are liberty-loving, limited government types. Truthfully. Absolutely outstanding. And we know Hillary Clinton wouldn't have done any one of these things. But we're happy because it's conservative, not because it's populist, nationalist, whatever. Now, we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with Obamacare. And this is concerning me right now because the Republicans do not have a solid position on this, and they've had plenty of time. And we have two knuckleheads, Republican senators, one by the name of Cassidy from Louisiana. The more I hear him speak, this doctor, the dumber I think he is, and Susan Collins, who can't get any dumber. And they released a plan this week, writes Philip Klein over at the Washington Examiner, that they're trying to sell as a replacement for Obamacare. It's named the Patient Freedom Act. But a more apt description would be the Obamacare Forever Act. This is important. Far from representing a departure from Obamacare's approach to health care policy, the legislation would effectively enshrine it in place. The Cassidy-Collins bill has been pitched as a bipartisan compromise that would give states the option of sticking with Obamacare or trying out a free market alternative. In practice, though, the bill wouldn't provide a legitimate choice. One reason, it can't be seen as a legitimate choice. The law keeps Obamacare's taxes and most of its spending in place, particularly 95% of its subsidies, and keeps the federal exchange infrastructure intact. Now, this is what liberal Democrats and liberal Republicans do, ladies and gentlemen. They're fraudsters. Now, I would like the president and the co-presidents to speak out on this. I'm quite serious. I'm glad they've done all these executive orders. They're nice and solid and conservative, and they need to be done. Where are we on Obamacare in terms of policy? I know they just started. That's not my point. You got Republicans running around digging in on positions that are unacceptable. So we need some leadership on Obamacare. Now. That means that even if lawmakers in one state choose not to continue participating in Obamacare, their residents will still have to be paying to support the program. It also means that, for the sake of inertia, if nothing else, many states will stay with Obamacare. This is not repeal and replace. Another reason it isn't a legitimate choice is that the law will continue to impose costly regulations at the federal level. Those include forcing insurers to cover those with pre-existing conditions, prohibiting annual or lifetime caps, requiring insurers to allow adults to remain on their parents' plan until 26. Whatever the arguments for these policies, a system of choice would leave states free to impose such requirements, but other states free to pursue alternative market-based plans. That's called competition. Instead, under the Cassidy-Collins plan, any state that opts out of Obamacare would continue to be restricted by its regulatory tentacles. A disaster. Though the bill claims to eliminate the law's individual mandate, it imposes a sort of mandate by different means. States opting out of the Obamacare can receive federally funded health savings accounts for individuals, but they also have to auto-enroll residents in a base high deductible plan with an HSA, health savings account. That is, by default, everybody will be signed up for health insurance regardless of whether they want it, and they'll have to take action to drop out. Jeffrey Anderson of the Hudson Institute has made the conservative case that this may actually be worse than Obamacare's individual mandate. Another feature of the Obamacare mandate is that not only does it force individuals to purchase insurance, but it also makes government the arbiter of what counts as insurance. Likewise, individuals would only be able to claim a health savings account subsidy if they enroll in a plan that their state government has deemed to be a qualified health plan. So taken together, here's the bottom line. The Cassidy-Collins bill would leave residents in many states trapped in Obamacare, which all states would still be forced to pay for, and their only alternative is to adopt a system while still under onerous rules imposed from Washington. It's true that relative to Obamacare, Cassidy-Collins would move more regulation to the states and provide new options, but it doesn't go nearly far enough, and it occupies a dangerous middle ground. That is, the bill wouldn't be liberating enough to help foster the development of a true free market for health care. Yet at the same time, it would make just enough changes that it would allow liberals to blame any failures on free market health solutions. As a result, a future Democrat president would be able to make the case for an even greater role for the federal government, and he or she will be inheriting a system in which much of the infrastructure of Obamacare remains intact. This is what happens when there's a void. All the low-picked fruit all the low-lying fruit's being picked, the low-hanging fruit. Obamacare's tough. It's going to require legislative action. It's going to require leadership from the president and the co-presidents. It definitely is. And I'm seeing a big void right now. I know it's early, but I mean, this is the key issue for many people, this and immigration. And so far we have these Republican outliers, knuckleheads, like this guy Cassidy and Collins, driving the agenda because nobody else is driving it. This is the worst possible scenario where you go through the motions of repealing, the Democrats jump up and down, then they claim it's a private sector, free market, competitive system, when it's nothing of the sort, not even close. Then it fails. Then they blame the private sector and capitalism as they further nationalize health care. That cannot be accepted. I don't know why. When Republicans are in power, they don't follow their principles. I don't know why. It's very troubling. I read these articles by a guy, Robert Costa, at the Washington Compost and other places. And they keep talking about the nationalist populist wing of the Republican Party versus the more traditional Republicans. Notice what they never talk about, Mr. Producer. What is it? The conservatives. And we conservatives still make up the biggest base within the Republican Party. No candidate can become president without us. And yet, look at the big issue, Obamacare. Now, hopefully things will turn out properly. But it won't turn out properly if all we are is a bunch of dancers, the Rockettes. And so we cheer. That is, we celebrate the executive orders that promote traditionally conservative policies. That's a good thing. Now, let's get on to the big things that affect everybody's life in this country. I'll be right back. You know, I was watching a big rally in Texas for school choice, and I got to thinking. Over 20 years ago, I left the private sector on the capitalist side and moved to the private sector on the nonprofit side into Landmark Legal Foundation. And this was Landmark's marquee issue, school choice. We worked with Milton Friedman, who was the one that really invented the voucher idea. We had on our advisory board folks like Walter Williams and so many wonderful people, I can't even begin to name them. And we, along with a handful of other groups, we took on the system. We litigated like hell. The case came up in Wisconsin, Milwaukee in particular, and we took on the teachers union. We took on the NEA and their local affiliate, the Wisconsin Education Association. We took on elements of the NAACP, believe it or not. And we duked it out in state court up to the Wisconsin Supreme Court on more than one occasion. And we won. The matter was brought to the United States Supreme Court on at least 2 occasions. And we won again. I am really, really liking this Governor Abbott of Texas. He said this is a civil right. This is a civil right, and it's been a civil right. And then as I was thinking about that, as we helped lead the school choice movement, I started to think about the Tea Party movement. In our final hour, we're going to have Jenny Beth Martin on this program, who co-founded the largest of all the Tea Party groups, the Tea Party Patriots. And it's still a functioning big organization with grassroots members and support. And I'm going to get into some of these articles today that talk about the Tea Party, but you have hosts on TV and radio who are observers. They comment on school choice. They comment on the Tea Party. They comment on Convention of States. We have Johnny-come-latelys who try to run to the front of the parade and point to themselves rather than the people who've been working so hard. What I'm trying to get at is this. I do this show a little differently, I think, than most. Maybe not, but I think so. I don't focus exclusively on what is happening. Of course, I have to some extent, right? And I don't comment purely on what is taking place. Of course, you have to some extent. But with the what comes a why. Why? Why do some of us support liberty and some of us don't? Why are some of us conservatives and some of us not? Why is this country blessed and other countries are not? Why has the American experiment been so fruitful and other experiments have not? Why should we abandon our principles for amorphous or ambiguous labels? It's the why that helps you to figure things out. Now, I don't know why that is, that some choose not to. I have a hunch. It takes enormous amount of thinking, of education, of self-education, of reading. It's just easier not to do it. And that's why I think some of these hosts in these different broadcast genres do the same damn thing every day. Tap dance. Now, I'm not against it. I'm just saying sometimes you need to do more. And this is exactly why I say you are the smartest audience of all audiences. You could be tuning in anywhere. You could be checking out, but you don't. You don't. Why do we have a declaration? Why do we have a constitution? Why do these things matter? Why do we believe in commerce and trade and free market capitalism? Why do these things matter? Why do the other things matter should they take hold in this country? But look at these various movements I'm talking about. The Reagan Revolution. In 1976, I was an active leader in the Reagan Revolution in my state. The Tea Party movement. I was an active participant in it and helped provide some of the arguments for it, including at the various rallies and so forth. I didn't just comment on it. Convention of States. We have a wonderful organization and wonderful people out there all over the country who understand that this is the true outsider way to fix this country. I wrote an entire book on it that is used at every one of these events. This isn't to pat myself on the back. This is to make something clear. We do things differently on this program. We do things differently. I don't spend my weekends tooting around. I guess I'm a big bore. I spend my weekends teaching myself, learning. There's no end to it. I just can't get enough of it. I love it. All right, we'll be right back. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the deferred action for childhood arrivals for illegal alien kids, the Dreamers, that Obama, I believe, put in place with an executive order. It was very controversial. Virtually every Republican, not all, running for president said they would immediately reverse that executive order. And so I'm calling on one of the great patriots and experts out there who had a wonderful piece in National Review today, Mark Krikorian, Executive Director of the Center for Immigration Studies, CIS. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
So what's going on?
Your guess is as good as mine. President Trump, when he was running for office, he gave that major speech on immigration in Phoenix. It was all written down. He read the speech on the teleprompter because it was thought through, it was organized, and one of the 10 points he made was ending Obama's illegal amnesties. These were where President Obama, after the Democratic Congress in 2010 voted down the DREAM Act, the amnesty for illegals who came as kids, he basically just did it on his own. 750,000 people have gotten work permits, Social Security numbers, the whole 9 yards through this amnesty. Donald Trump said, I will immediately cancel these executive orders, immediately. It's a clear black letter promise, and, Monday ended and he hadn't done it. Tuesday has now ended and he hadn't done it. They've issued hundreds of additional work permits to illegal aliens under that program over the past couple of days, so it's no longer just an Obama program. DACA is now an Obama-Trump program.
And they keep issuing them until somebody stops it, right?
Exactly. I reached out to the department within Homeland Security that does this because I figured, well, maybe the White House kind of on the down low just sent them a message saying, knock it off, stop issuing renewals, stop issuing new work permits. And they got right back to me and said, no, we're processing according to, existing policy. Nobody's told us otherwise. And they told the same to other media organizations that asked, too. So I'm mystified. Could it be just a screw-up? It's not impossible because, they don't have a lot, the campaign didn't have a lot of people in it, so the transition was kind of bumpy. They've probably got thousands of jobs still to fill, so it could be, it's stuck in somebody's inbox or something. But it doesn't look that way because Chief of Staff Reince Priebus and the press spokesman, have both kind of hinted, without really saying, but hinted that they're kicking the can down the road on DACA, and they're ignoring the promise that President Trump or candidate Trump.
Why do you think this is? Why do you think? Let me put it this way: it may still happen. It may happen soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
But it's clearly not in the first 5 or 10 of the executive orders. Why do you think?
Well,
why do you think that is?
My guess is they see DACA as a kind of bargaining chip. That they are, thinking about trading DACA, giving green cards basically to the people that Obama illegally amnestied, giving them a proper legal amnesty in exchange for something else. Mandatory use of the E-Verify system for all new hires, for instance. And I would submit also it should have immigration cuts in any kind of deal like that. But if they don't end the program, I think they lose a lot of that leverage, because ending the program, you tell immigration, okay, stop issuing renewals, stop issuing new permits. They're only 2-year permits, but they'll expire, a little bit at a time. It'll take several months before any appreciable percentage expires, and that time puts pressure on the Democrats to make a deal before it gets worse from their perspective.
But what about the separation of powers issue? I mean, we argue that too. Sure. That Obama didn't have the power to do this, and he did it in the face of Congress saying no.
Look, I'm with you. This really is a matter of principle that doesn't really. I mean, look, Sean Spicer, the White House press spokesman, yesterday when he evaded questions and danced around about this, he said the administration's, first goal is criminals and people who are dangerous. But that's irrelevant to the question asked, because the question is not, the issue is not, are the DACAs all going to be rounded up and deported? They're not. Even if we end it, they're not. The question is, are you going to end this unconstitutional program that all Republicans, practically, all the ones that are actual Republicans, opposed as illegal and unconstitutional? And I don't know. It looks. Like you said, I hope it's going to happen in the next few days. But it should have just happened on Friday afternoon, because all it takes is a memo that says to the people involved, says stop processing until further notice. We'll get back to you. That's all it takes.
But you're saying not only didn't they do that, but the chief of staff Priebus and the spokesman Spicer, who used to work for Priebus, are giving counter indications.
Yeah, and they're not clear, definitive statements. Yes, the administration has decided not to do this and to break this promise. They're not saying that. They're kind of dancing around it. But, you read between the lines, it seems pretty clear that at least the Priebus faction in the White House, the more establishment people, seem to have prevailed, at least for now, over the more populist folks led by Bannon. I really think...
Do you think they're really factions? I suspect at this point there's a lot of unanimity at the White House.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying this because I know. This is all speculation. You might be right. I don't know. But there's, why on earth would they break this clear, explicit, narrow promise on one of his most important issues? Look, this isn't like, President Trump said, I will destroy ISIS. I hope he's right. But that's more an aspiration, a hope, than a promise. On DACA, that's more like saying, I will have breakfast tomorrow at 8 in the morning. You either do or you don't. And in this case, they seem to have just broken that promise.
What you're saying, he has the power to undo what Obama did, period.
Of course he does. And he doesn't even require an executive order. It doesn't require any of that. Maybe it would eventually to clean up the mess. But to stop it from, basically to turn off the tap, if you will, all he has to do is, at this point, call the Homeland Security Secretary, who's sworn in, General Kelly. He's now Secretary of Homeland Security. Call him and tell him, look, send an interoffice memo down there and tell him to stop processing these things. That's all it takes.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they got nervous on this? That's the main reason?
My sense is, they're afraid of the bad, this is sort of hilarious to say this about this White House, but I think they're maybe afraid of bad publicity, because, look, these guys, the people who have this DACA amnesty, dreamers is what they call them too. You know, they're illegals who came here as kids. They're the most sympathetic group of illegal immigrants. Everybody, I've for years have written that that this narrow group of illegals should be getting an amnesty, but not the way Obama did it. He simply did it illegally, and to continue. Look, every day they're issuing something like 800 work permits to illegal aliens, either renewals for ones that expired or new ones to people who didn't have them before under this DACA program.
So if they do that for a year, that's 250,000, or give or take.
Something like
more.
that, yeah. I mean, I didn't do
maybe
the math,
more.
But yeah, it's a lot, probably more than that. But so you know, why are they? What? I really don't understand the thinking, because, like I said, even from a perspective of bargaining with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats for a better deal, it seems to me a mistake, because they are giving away their leverage.
Why are you one of the few, one of the few, who's speaking out on this?
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for other people, you got to ask them. I don't know.
Well, I'd have to ask an awful lot of people.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, Mark, it's a pleasure, Executive Director of the Center for Immigration Studies. If people want to learn more about you and this and your group, where do they go?
We're online at cis.org. We have a blog, and we have new research publications all the time. And I'm on Twitter at Mark S, as in Stephen, Mark S. Krikorian, K-R-I-K.
Why, is there another Krikorian on there? Another Mark Krikorian?
Actually, yeah, I think there's several. Krikorian's, like every third Armenian is named Krikorian.
Yeah, I know, I'm kidding.
Name.
Yeah. All right, Mark, God bless. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
All right, be well. I don't know. I can't explain it. Hopefully it'll be done tomorrow. Yeah, this isn't drawing swords or pistols or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm actually wondering why this hasn't been done, and done quickly. Stroke of a pen, he can undo what Obama did with a stroke of a pen. Now this, and President Trump would have told you this several months ago, this was his top issue, immigration. So let's see what happens, hopefully soon, because the processing continues. And keep in mind, forget about what the left says. The fact is that these people are not going to be deported immediately. Whether you want them to be or not, whether you're somewhere in between or not, it just stops this process. And on top of that, as I mentioned to Mark Krikorian, I have a huge problem with presidents legislating. And on that ground alone, this thing should be killed right now. Right now. There's no justification. I don't care, populist nationalists, Republican establishment, everybody was squawking about it. We had websites going crazy over it, remember? Well, where are they now? They're not talking about it. What happened? All right, I'll be right back. By the way, I still think Trump could do this. But remember, we're in the why business, not in the pom-pom and rocket business. Why? And as more I think about it, we're also in the prodding business. We want to encourage these steps to be taken as well. Somebody's got to do it, right? We all can't be the same on radio and TV. Sue, Damascus, Maryland, the great WMAL. Go.
Well, Mark, I just wanted to say I think Trump should be signing the rescinding of DACA immediately. I live here in Maryland. I was at a meeting last night in Howard County and also Annapolis. They're going around, these illegal alien folks are going around and using this DACA thing as a reason to promote more sanctuary cities. And so Trump needs to take a stand on this right now, because we live in a sanctuary city here in Sanctuary County in Montgomery County. Prince George's County is a sanctuary county, and so is Baltimore City. And the FBI is looking to change their headquarters to a jurisdiction surrounding Washington. And the first thing Trump should say
Whoa. Don't go so fast. This is a great point. A great point. The FBI is looking to move its headquarters. And your point is no sanctuary county, town, state should be on that list, period. Isn't that your point?
That's exactly my point. And the county executives of Montgomery and Prince George's have been wooing them. They've been on the radio today. They've been wooing the FBI. And I think that Trump should say the top law enforcement agency in our country is not going to move into a jurisdiction that promotes law breaking.
Outstanding. Absolutely brilliant point. Sue, do you have CRTV?
I do not.
Would you like to?
Well, I would love to.
All right, don't hang up. We're going to get you a one-year subscription. And by the way, you can sign up for Conservative Review TV right now and get 1 week trial. You get a 1 week trial. If you don't like it, then you don't continue. Nothing lost, no risk. If you do like it, then you sign up. 1 week free. I'm going to tell you what's really special about this week. Last night I had an interview with Ted Cruz, and we're getting more compliments from people saying, you guys sitting down, discussing history, the Constitution, philosophy, it's like nothing we ever saw before. And I'm telling you, these are the kinds of things that can be done on TV. Part 2 is tonight, where we get into Russia, we get into the Palestinian-Israeli situation, we get into the election somewhat. I'm not going to be one of these guys who's, asking questions that you would expect. No, we went broader than that. So part 2 is tonight. So if you sign up tonight for CRTV at crtv.com, you will get Levin TV as well as Michelle Malkin Investigates and Louder with Crowder, who's great. We're building other platforms, working other shows. But if you do that now for an entire week, you get the free programming and you'll get to see what truly are 2 spectacular shows with Ted Cruz, who you will learn more about him than you actually think you might know, because it's not in a campaign setting. It's not in a hostile setting. I just want to learn more about him and on these various subjects and so on. I think you're going to be very, very fascinated by it. Eric, Fort Worth, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
Hey, Mark, I just wanted to present a theory to you that maybe why he's waiting on an executive order for DACA is to have Jeff Sessions in there, because if you recall, with DACA, it was all about prosecutorial discretion.
No. They don't mean, listen to me, because we were involved in that litigation, Landmark Legal Defense. By prosecutorial discretion, they don't mean prosecutor's discretion. They mean the president has the discretion, or not, to make these decisions on whether to prosecute, quote-unquote, particular cases. And what the court did is bastardize that, because prosecuting that case, what is a massive general policy. But no, that wouldn't matter whether he had the attorney general in place or not. Plus, let's follow your logic just for a second. Prosecutorial discretion. He says, okay, from now on, you cannot come in. You can still wait for, we're not going to confer legal status on you. That doesn't mean anyone's going to be prosecuted, or if they are going to be prosecuted, he can wait for Jeff Sessions. You see my point?
Well, I just was thinking that there are all these Obama puppets that are still in these senior positions.
But what in the world would that have to do with the president? They're still in the senior positions at Energy and Interior and EPA, and he signed those executive orders. That has nothing to do with it if they're in those positions. Not only that, he has the Secretary of Homeland Security in place, and this is the place where this would take place. Look, I'm not saying he won't do it. He may well do it. We're going to continue to ask why, and we're going to continue to prod. I'm not a fan dancer. I never have been. I'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Over at the Drudge Report, one of the Trump White House's outlets, Reuters. I mean, literally 5 seconds. Well, how long? 3 minutes ago? President Donald Trump was expected to sign several executive orders restricting immigration on Wednesday at the Department of Homeland Security, according to several congressional aides and immigration experts. Trump's orders were expected to involve restricting access to the United States for refugees and some visa holders from Iraq, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen, said the aides and experts who asked not to be identified. Now, this is not the repeal of Obama's unconstitutional executive order on DACA, but maybe this is a start. in that direction. In other words, one has nothing to do with the other, except they're in the immigration field. This would be a very, very important executive order. This idea was first proposed by Ted Cruz, and I think Rand Paul, too. It's a good thing. These are conservative positions. So when people write on our social sites, Mr. Producer, forget about conservatism, what the hell's it ever done for us? Well, they're cheering these actions which are conservative. And I've said till I'm blue in the face, and I'm actually olive in the face, so that's something, that when steps are taken that are conservative and solid, we're going to support them. And when they're not, we're going to object. What do you mean? What do you mean, what do I mean? Meanwhile, the clown car of millions and millions of leftists just keeps driving along. Sally Boynton Brown, Idaho Democrat Party Executive Director, at a Democrat National Committee Chair Candidate Forum yesterday. I don't know if anyone heard this or not. Cut one, Mr. Producer, go.
I'm a white woman. I don't get it. I am pleased and honored to be here today to have the conversation. I am so excited that we're here. And I am listening because that's my job, is to listen to the issues. My job is to listen and be a voice. And my job is to shut other white people down when they want to interrupt. My job is
Stop. You're an idiot. I just interrupted you. Go ahead.
White people down when they want to say, oh no, I'm not prejudiced. I'm a Democrat. I'm accepting. My job is to make sure that they get that they have privilege. And until we shut our mouths and we listen to those people who don't, and we lift our people up so that we all have equity in this country.
This is sick. Absolutely sick. Do you think Martin Luther King would say anything like that? Is this the colorblind society? Has the Democrat Party gone absolutely ape nuts with fools like this? Sickening, pandering. Cut two, go.
And continue to talk to people and make sure that every single system in our party is designed to give power back to the people, all people, but especially those people who have been disenfranchised in our country since.
I feel like I've been disenfranchised in our country for 8 years under Obama. Is she talking about me? And by the way, you see the point? Everybody says they're doing it for the people. Nut jobs like this, communists, the Black Power movement of the 1960s, everybody does it for the people, the People's Republic of China. That's what makes republicanism, constitutional republicanism, little r, so important. Go ahead.
So, please, 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 this is a conversation I want to have, and I am from Idaho. We are so white.
Oh, this is, does it get sicker than this? Oh, my Lord. It's just incredible to me. Who talks like this? Go ahead.
Right? I have been reaching out and trying to connect to anybody of color that I can find, to be honest with you.
Oh, you're such a bigot, quite frankly. By the way, the producer of Divided States of America on Frontline PBS, we got an answer from this person saying he will not come on my program. He goes on some guy's program who's an idiot sports broadcaster some time ago, and so, but he will not come on my program. He prominently uses my voice and my name on his 2-part series on government TV, and will not come on my program to talk to me. His name is Mark Kirk. He's utterly unprofessional and disgusting to me. Go ahead. Sally Boynton, cut 3.
We have to, at the DNC, provide training. We have to teach them how to communicate, how to be sensitive, and how to shut their mouths if they're white.
I know it's a a hopeless cause. You want to see if we can get this genius on the show, Mr. Producer? Contact her. Just say we'd love to talk to her. What about? What about? Don't bring up these clips. Just say her run for a DNC executive director. We want to know how that works. Try that, okay? See if you can get her on. And hold on to these clips. Meanwhile, we have Raymond Buckley. Who's he? Hey, he's another schmo. New Hampshire Democrat Party chair at this DNC chair candidate forum yesterday. Cut 4, go.
But at 6 o'clock in the morning, I was woken up. I saw that it was my niece, Tanisha. And what had not even processed in my mind when I was so upset about what the results were was how she was going to, as a young African-American 20-year-old, how she processed what happened the night before. And she was sobbing so hard that I couldn't understand at first what she was saying. And I kept saying, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she goes, Uncle Raymond, you have to get me out of here. She feared for her safety by what happened on Election Day.
Why? Why? Did she go down to the Women's March down there? By the way, no offense. May I be honest, Mr. Producer? Was that like a Weight Watchers convention? What was it? No offense. Listen, I'm telling you what I saw. Go ahead.
Now, until all of America understands the fear that is out there, the justified fear because of what we are seeing happen across the country to African-American lives, we're never going to be able to move this country forward.
Oh, this another Democrat demagogue. What's happening all across the country? What's happening all across the country? You mean in the inner cities where blacks are being killed at some unbelievably horrific rate, often by other blacks? Is that what he's talking about? What is he talking about? He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And what's wrong with his niece? Was it his niece who was crying? Yes. What the hell's that? She's 20 years old. We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. Get out of here because of what? The left is absolutely nuts. And I'm going to tell you something. We can't win every election. They're not going to always be defeated. You're not going to always have the House and the Senate and the presidency in Republican hands. And these people mean to do us an enormous amount of damage on the left, the Democrat left. They absolutely do. And I've told you before, and think about it. Think about the United States of America in the hands, for a long period of time, of the left. I don't mean the old school Democrat Party. I mean the hardcore radical left that now controls the Democrat Party. Think even beyond taxes and health care and regulations. That's bad enough. Think even beyond the unlimited immigration and the effort to completely destroy citizenship as they pursue their monopoly political power. But think about the kind of life you would have in this country. Think about the kind of hate, the kind of fear. Think about the attack on your personal, individual liberty and your property. Absolutely unbelievable. And guess what? That's their form of populism. That's their form of populism. It's statism, populism. That's why constitutionalism. It's the Constitution, as I said before, that sits between us and tyranny. More when I return. Senate Democrats, up to no good as usual. New York Times and The Hill. Senate Democrats are planning to introduce a $1 trillion infrastructure plan that they guarantee support for should President Trump endorse it. That's what the New York Times is reporting, according to the Hill newspaper. I read the New York Times. If I can avoid it, I do. So I'm reading it from the Hill. Now, I told you this is going to become a bidding war, and the Democrats are trying to get out front. They want to make sure that their favorite organizations and mayors and all the rest of it get money sanctuary cities and so forth. It just seems to me any infrastructure bill. And I oppose this stuff. I don't believe in nationalizing all of our roads and bridges and tunnels and so forth and so on. I guess I'm in the minority these days. I guess I am. Everybody loves the federal government and hates the federal government at the same time. I don't get it. But that said, not one penny should go to a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state. Not one penny should go to a sanctuary county. Not a penny in this infrastructure bill. And we'll try and hold their feet to the fire on this. Will you help me? I hope so, because I really am not in the mood to be dancing across the stage. Quote from the disgusting Schmucky Schumer. Our urban and rural communities have their own unique set of infrastructure priorities, and this proposal would provide funding to address those needed upgrades and go beyond the traditional road and bridge repair. Oh. Now, they haven't actually put their plan out, so that could be very interesting. Beyond traditional road. So, you see, when they need infrastructure, just like Obama, they mean more spending on crap. So there's going to be a big battle over this. Hopefully. We own the House. Hey, you know what? We're going to show the American people. We'll show the American people. This is McConnell, of course. We can do that. We can do it. We don't have to get everything we want. And there's my wife. She's over there running the transportation department. And she's going to help. Whatever. Trump promised an ambitious infrastructure package during the first 100 days, and one of his aides, as I told you, told me and cited the New Deal. Cited the New Deal. There we go. Let's see. Is there any more to read on this? No more. How about we take some calls? Now, my computer went... every time I'm ready to take calls. Oh, it's back. It's like this computer knows. So it like shuts down on its own. But I got it back. Anthony. How the hell do you pronounce that town in Florida, Anthony?
Apopka. A-P-O-P-K-A.
Apopka?
Apopka, Florida.
On the Mark Levin app. Well, where is that near, Apopka, Florida?
Orlando.
Oh, really? Really close to Orlando?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I'm within 25 miles of both of the features.
I see. Well, then. All right, my friend, go right ahead.
Well, I wanted to thank you. You know, I used to be a diehard Democrat. My father was a 107 Teamster, Jimmy Hoffa's Union, and how it all started, the middle class and this and that. And, well, the last 3 years I've been listening to you. I want to thank you. I've been fighting for Trump to get in, and everybody said it would never happen. And when it did, I want to thank you for your help all these years because...
I thought you were going to attack me because I endorsed Ted Cruz before I endorsed Trump.
Well, I know that. My brother did, too. He loved Ted Cruz.
And yet, he and I wound up voting for Trump, didn't he?
Yeah, I like Trump. I like him because I know where he's coming from. I know he speaks out.
Well, it's more than that, isn't it? We know where Hillary was coming from, too, and that we could not abide.
And my wife was mainly a Republican for the last, I don't know, we'll be 50 years. We'll be married in August.
Wow. Good for you guys.
Thank you. But I'm a disabled veteran. I fought in the Vietnam War.
God bless you.
And I love my country, and I appreciate what you're doing. We need to leave the man alone, let him do his job. And it really upsets me.
No. I think this. There's a difference between commenting and saying, I wish you wouldn't do that, we think you should do that, and trying to sabotage the guy. There is a difference, right?
Right.
So he's getting advice from a lot of people. He ought to hear from us. It is our country, after all, no matter who the president is. And as long as the criticism is in the vein of trying to get him, from our perspective, to stick with the promise, or even more, to follow a conservative route, then that's fine. As opposed to the Democrats who are absolutely out to ruin the man. They want to destroy the man. It's certainly not my objective, and I don't think it's anybody else's objective who has legitimate questions to raise about some of these policies. That's all.
Yeah, it's surprising that they go to these extremes.
No, they always do. When I worked in the Reagan administration, Reagan was so incredibly popular, 2 massive landslides, and they tried to use the Iran situation to destroy him. and the Contra situation, and we were bogged down in investigations for a period of time, and they brought in an independent prosecutor. I'm telling you they're going to try and pull something like that with Trump. In fact, let me tell you something, Anthony. They hate Trump more than they hated Reagan. And I'm amazed. I say this. And they hate Trump more than they hated Nixon. And they're at war with him. And there's absolutely no question about it. So what? He says millions of people, illegals, voted for me, and so they don't let anything pass. Now that is a big issue. Or if he says, no, there were hundreds of thousands or more on the, watching his inauguration. They say, look how he's focusing on that. Look how he's focusing. Well, Anthony, the media is obsessed with it, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I know what's going on here. I know what they're up to.
It's horrible. The way they try to make him look like a racist. I mean, half of his family is Jewish to begin with. And I don't understand. Where do they get this racism?
Wait a minute. Isn't half of Obama's family Jewish? As a matter of fact, Obama did what to the Jews in Israel?
Nothing.
Stabbed them in the back.
In the back? Absolutely. Absolutely.
What did he do to the Cuban people? Stabbed them in the back. What did he do to the Iranian people? Funded the terrorists who took over that country. And we can go on, can't we?
I know. It's ridiculous.
All right, my friend. Listen, thank you for your service. And God bless you. You take care of yourself. Ooh, this looks like a good one. Let's pull it right up. Let's go right to Dave, Mr. Call Screener, on caller 1. Go.
Hello.
Dave, how are you, sir?
Mark Levin, what is up, Denali?
Hold on now, Dave. You
Yes.
got a unique background, so don't hang up. I want to bring you back. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, don't hang up. I think Dave is going to interest you. It piqued my interest that Mr. Call Screener didn't even finish putting them up there. So we will get back to Dave. You won't want to miss it, and I'll be right back. Now, I want to go back to Dave in Los Angeles, 870 AM, The Answer. Go right ahead, Dave.
Hey, Mark, how you doing today?
All right, how are you, bud?
Good. Just driving, trucking along. Hey, I was calling because I heard you played that speech of the lady in Idaho, and she said something.
Is she a nut or what?
Oh, Mark, I was going to tell you because you asked, where have you ever heard this kind of speech before? And you know what? I have heard that kind of speech, and you know where it was at? In prison. I've done a few years in prison. I'm 10 years separated away from that now, but
Yeah.
That's where I've heard it before. It's like segregation. It's sick. It's really sick. I can't.
All right, let me ask you something. All right, so we know a lot of these prisons break down based on race and gang affiliation, right?
Right. Yep.
The prison you were in, are you allowed to tell me which one or not?
Oh, I've been in I've been in a lot in California
All right.
State prison system. Yeah.
I've been in a lot of. And what is, may I ask, what is your ethnicity?
I'm Latino.
You're Latino. Now, when you hear this woman go on that she's white and whites need to do this for African American, you're telling me she's playing into this race thing in a very dangerous way. You hear this stuff in
Right.
prisons, you're telling me.
Exactly. And that's what it takes me back to. It's like, Mark, I did what I had to do when I was in there to survive and get out, alive. And
Right.
I'm not proud of that, and it disgusts me, you know what I mean? And this lady has no idea what she's talking about, and the people that are listening, how serious some of them people take it, you know what I mean?
Well, Dave, hold on. I want, just in case people are just tuning in, Mr. Producer, let us, which is the best of the cuts? I don't want to go through it. All right, let's start with cut 1. Go ahead. This is Sally Boynton Brown, Idaho Democrat Party Executive Director, at a DNC chair candidate forum. I guess she wants to be the head of the DNC. Go ahead.
I'm a white woman. I don't get it. I am pleased and honored to be here today to have the conversation. I am so excited that we're here. And I am listening because that's my job is to listen to the issues. My job is to listen and be a voice. And my job is to shut other white people down when they want to interrupt. My job is to shut other white people down when they want to say, oh no, I'm not prejudiced. I'm a Democrat. I'm accepting. My job is to make sure that they get that they have privilege. And until we shut our mouths.
That's enough. I can't stand her. I'm going to jump off the roof. Dave, that's what you're commenting about, right?
Exactly. That's it right there.
Unbelievable. Now, let me ask you
She
something.
sounds
Yeah,
like one of the shot callers on a prison yard. That's what it reminds me of. You know,
Really?
like a shot caller in a prison yard. All right, white people, we're going to do this. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, are you serious?
What's a shot caller?
Oh, those are people that are in charge of certain races. Like the white race has one, the Latinos have one, the blacks have one. You know, and those are the representatives of the races inside the prison yard. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you
Sounds
this.
like, you know, it's ridiculous.
How old are you, may I ask?
I'm 47.
And you were in and out of the state prison system through much of your youth?
Yeah, for about 10 years, in and out.
May I ask you this? Why, or you don't want to tell me?
It was just, you know, drug related, you know, and you know, just some things in life that I just, Mark, this is what it boils down to. I didn't want to take personal responsibility for my actions. That's it in a nutshell.
I want you to explain that to everybody, because we live in a society now where the government says it wants to take care of everybody, and not only it cannot do so, but it creates a very, very bad mindset for a lot of people.
I agree 100%. You know, it's everybody wants to blame somebody else for their position in life or their reason for doing drugs, or why did you steal? Well, because of this and that, and you know, and it's just a lack of personal responsibility. You know, it's that simple. You know, and I knew that was happening when they started with the hands up, don't shoot, and they were getting on the police force and all that stuff. That's when I was like, wait a minute, man, there's something wrong here, because you know, these people are doing something in order to be put in that position in the first place. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, they want to push all the responsibility off on someone else. Mm-hmm. And it's a bad example to set for the kids that are growing up in this country.
Now, what do you do now? I'm curious about you now. You're a truck driver. Yeah. And how long you been listening to this show?
I just started 2016, yeah, maybe 2015.
Yeah. So you hear me on this show.
I was full on into, you know, the whole thing. I was one of them, you know what I mean? I was one of them. A socialist, democratic, whatever you want to call it. But since I've been listening, I got Sirius satellite radio, and I found the Patriot channel, and I've been being educated ever since, and I look at it as an education.
That is terrific.
I love it.
That's terrific. A lot of great hosts on that.
A lot of great hosts, man.
All right, Dave. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for your call, sir. Let's continue, shall we? Marcos, Middletown, New York, the great WABC. Go.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Good.
Just want to say I'm a big fan, but I voted for Trump, and I'm a conservative. You know, I work for an EMR software company. And we sell services to doctors and practices that get them in compliance with federal Medicare quality guidelines, and you know, that were created by the Affordable Care Act.
Now let me slow you down. Federal Medicare guidelines, depending on which guidelines you're talking about, came long before Obamacare. Medicare was created in 1965.
Right.
And they've amended those guidelines many times, but. So you don't have to worry about that. The red tape and massive bureaucracy that goes along with Medicare will still be there.
Right.
It will.
Of course. And, you know, I'm just kind of scared with Trump, you know, repealing the ACA, and I'll be jobless.
First of all, he's not... let's slow down. The problem right now is what these idiots in the Senate, in particular, these Republicans are talking about, which is really not a repeal. But why would you worry about that?
It's just, you know, certain line items within the whole thing have been created. You know, I sell services pertaining to exactly what Obama has created. You know what I mean?
I know, but the rest of the world can't be stuck with Obamacare because you work for a business potentially, and I don't know, that sells, you know, software to deal with it. And I'm sure that business didn't just come along for Obamacare, right? It existed before.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, and it'll exist after.
But also, my employer outsources a lot from Southeast Asia, you know, so with the whole TPP out of the picture and Trump's protection.
But hold on now. TPP is not going to make any difference, really. Can still outsource to Southeast Asia.
Yeah, I just fear he's going to really come down hard on...
Listen, on this trade stuff, you're going to have an ally in me, because I think this is very, very destructive of actually American jobs, and you're giving a perfect example. You and many of the people you work with as an example.
My boss is going to start cutting back, wages and jobs. And
I agree.
Conservative, I'm stuck in this dilemma.
Let me ask you a question. Are you an American?
Sure.
Of course you are, right?
Yeah.
And you're saying your job as an American could be imperiled if we get into this protectionist crap. And I fully understand it. And that is what happens with protectionism. It's what happened in the 30s, and it'll happen again. Now, there may be a period of growth, a spurt, but it won't be long-lasting. And there'll be certain industries that'll be protected, like the industries that were called into the White House today, particularly the automobile industry and so forth and so on. But as important as the automobile industry is, and it's very important, the vast majority of Americans don't work for the automobile industry.
Right.
So you have to put in place policies that create a stable economic environment, a fair economic environment, but you can't have the government constantly putting its hand on the scale. And there are a lot of people in this country who owe their jobs to exports, and there's a lot of people in this country who owe their jobs to imports. All right, my friend, I appreciate your call. Let's see here, Mr. Producer. Oh, somebody disagrees with me. Joe, Harwington, Connecticut. I don't know. How are you listening to us? WABC?
Yeah, I guess it bounces off the atmosphere to finally get up to me here in Connecticut.
WABC is a powerhouse. You can hear it across the country at night. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I guess, I'm a lifelong conservative. I wanted Cruz, but, I did vote for Trump. And,
Can you prove that, sir?
What's that?
Can you prove that, sir?
Well, I guess...
I'm only kidding. Relax. Go ahead.
Hey, but I'm also in the construction industry. So, full disclosure, this $1 trillion would, really go well for my company.
Boy.
But, however...
Let me ask you a question. Slow down a second. Let me ask you. I'm going to give you time. I may have to bring you back after the break. Let me ask you something. Do you think John Adams was right when he said, and he wasn't happy about it, but when he said, people really don't understand liberty. What they understand is material, or materialism. That's what they understand. Do you think he's right?
I definitely think he's right.
Are you about to prove this to me?
That I'm right, or that I'm...
Or that you're about materialism, particularly subsidized by the federal government as opposed to liberty. That is, the freedom to go out there and make a buck.
Oh, no, I agree, and that's why I'm kind of torn, Mike.
It's Mark, but what the hell?
What the hell? Dad, I'm sorry. I'm kind of nervous here. But, that's why I'm torn.
Relax.
As an engineer, in or out of the industry, I do realize our roads and bridges are crumbling, and we do need to fix them.
Now, all of our roads and bridges are not crumbling. Some are crumbling. Some are owned by the states. Some are owned by the federal government. If federal roads and bridges are crumbling, then the federal government should address it. If they're crumbling and they're owned by the states, then the states should address it. It's not like they don't have enough money. It's that they put money in other places where they shouldn't. That's number one. Number two, you ever heard of the Highway Trust Fund?
Is the Highway Trust Fund fully funded, though?
Well, it used to be, but they keep ripping it off. Every time you fill up your car, everybody in this country, I don't care where you are in this country, every time you fill up your car, you're paying a federal excise tax. That money is supposed to go, every gallon of gasoline, that money is supposed to go into the Highway Trust Fund. They steal the money out of the Highway Trust Fund. They spend it on pedestrian paths. They spend it on school construction. They spend it on all these things. And then they go, oh, my goodness, look, our roads are crumbling, so we need another $1 trillion. What happened to the last trillion infrastructure dollars? Remember that, Joe, under Obama?
Trust me, that was to me, that was the biggest waste of money. Because projects that are already on the books, they just...
But this will be spent beautifully because we have Republicans in Washington. The problem is they send the money to the states and localities. And the state and the Democrats know this. That's why they see this as a massive boondoggle. They're already making their proposal. And Schumer already said, look, we need to understand when we talk infrastructure, we're not only talking about roads, we're talking about other things. So this is what you have to realize. The money is squandered in the most massive way. But go ahead, well, actually, Joe, how much time do I have, Rich? Joe, you got 90 seconds. I'm giving it all to you. Go.
All right. At what cost for the $1 trillion is what I'm thinking too. It's just like you are. It's great for my company, but my kids are going to be paying for this, and their grandkids are going to be paying for this. And I guess the solution is, just like you said, is putting a damn lock on the lockbox like it should have been. I'm from Connecticut. We spent $500 million on a busway. We spent money on a project I was on to build tunnels for turtles. I mean, we got to be smarter with our projects.
How about
too.
unleash the economy and let the money flow where the money flows? And that creates a bigger tax base. That creates more industry. That creates more opportunity, more mobility. Construction begets construction. Why don't we just embrace more capitalism? That's what I say, Joe. And construction companies, along with all other companies, will expand and prosper.
Exactly.
All right, Joe, you're a very, very cool guy. I appreciate your call, buddy. You did a great job. I know it's a little intimidating when people call radio, particularly me. But if you're polite, I'm polite. If you're respectful, I'm respectful. If you're a loudmouth buffoon, well then, it's a whole other story. I'll be right back. Hello, everybody. Mark Levin here. This is our final hour of the night. 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. The Democrats are very strategically and yet obviously controlling this confirmation process as the minority party in the Senate. Has anybody awakened Mitch McConnell lately? That guy is as pathetic as they come. And so they have confirmed essentially the foreign policy team. Pretty much. CIA, Defense, Department of Homeland Security in some senses. Now the ambassador to the United Nations. But they're holding up the others. Where's Sessions? Why don't they vote on him? Tillerson just got through. And the reason is, ladies and gentlemen, they want these domestic agencies to run wild for as long as they possibly can with all the Obama holdovers. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. Now, I want you to listen to Schmucky Chucky Schumer at a press conference today on the infrastructure spending. Sorry, Rich, cut 6. Cut 6, go.
The methods of paying for it. Here's some things. We don't believe we should... we don't believe they should.
Stop. The hell do you believe, you moron? I believe, I don't believe, we don't, we do, I believe. Go ahead.
Class other programs. Often Ryan talks about that. Education, health care, which will stymie it. Some Democrats believe we should...
Is this guy not loathsome? Is he not loathsome? So in other words, he said we shouldn't cut money to middle class other programs. All you folks in the middle class, you getting a lot of government money? No! So what he's saying is this is $1 trillion over and above the $1 trillion that Obama spent that's built into the base of the budget now. There's no end to this. $20 trillion fiscal operating debt. The economy produces $17.7 trillion in services and goods every year. We have over $200 trillion in unfunded liabilities. I've been saying this for years. This is no joke. Go ahead.
Loopholes to pay for it.
We're going to close tax loopholes to pay for it. You know what that means? Raising your taxes. How many of you have tax loopholes that you use? Mark, what about you? I have no tax loopholes. I don't have anything invested overseas. You know, that's the funny thing. All these guys, hey, I'm a populist. They got money overseas. They got building overseas. They've sold copyrights overseas with the Seinfeld and all. I got nothing overseas. And here I'm the one arguing for commerce and trade. Now, that said, what loopholes are left to close? Seriously, folks. That are going to create $1 trillion. $1 trillion. What loopholes are they talking about? Go ahead.
Believe that we should...
shut up, you idiot. Then we have Mike Mulvaney. He's been a member of the Freedom Caucus. I believe he was is from South Carolina. If I'm wrong, so be it. And he's been nominated to be the director of the Office of Management and Budget, and he needs confirmation as well. And watch how they attack this guy just for telling the truth. They attack this guy for telling the truth about the debt. Hat tip conservative review, cut 10, go.
One truth is this. For the first time in America's history, the next generation could be less prosperous than the previous. I know that is unacceptable to every single person in this room, as it is unacceptable to me. We can turn the economy around. We can turn the country around, but it's going to take difficult decisions today in order to avoid nearly impossible decisions tomorrow. Our gross national debt has increased to almost $20 trillion. That is a number so large as to almost defy description. I choose to look at it in a different fashion. I choose to look at it through the lens of the ordinary American family. If you were an ordinary American family, the equivalent to you of a $20 trillion debt is a credit card bill of $260,000. American families know what that would mean to them, and it's time that this government learns what it means to us.
Oh, this guy's a right-wing radical. He's a nut job. We can't have him. No. We need somebody who's more moderate, who can work with the liberal left. Yeah. This guy's superb. This is an excellent statement. So far, he didn't, pull a Rick Perry. 5 years ago, I said we should get rid of the Energy Department. I was wrong. These are good people. I know all. Now that I know all that goes on there, my goodness. Now I'm going to be an advocate for... Okay, good. Sit down and shut up. Back to Mike Mulvaney. Cut 11. Go.
I believe as a matter of principle that the debt is a problem that must be addressed sooner rather than later. I also know that fundamental changes are necessary in the way Washington spends and taxes if we truly want a healthy economy. This must include changing our government's long-term fiscal path, which is unsustainable. Part of that also means taking a hard look at government waste and ending it. American taxpayers deserve a government that is efficient, effective, and accountable. They earn their money honestly, and they deserve a government that spends it in the same fashion.
Ooh, he's controversial. He's controversial. We can't have somebody like this running the Office of Management and Budget. He's controversial. Must be a right-wing nut job. Must hate the middle class, xenophobic. He must hate African Americans and LGBTs and all the rest of it. Yes, we hate this man, don't we, ladies and gentlemen? Wonder how Ben Cardin over there in Maryland thinks. This guy's such a lightweight senator. I hear this fool on the radio. Oh, he comes across so thoughtful. Just another bomb thrower. That's all he is. By the way, Elizabeth Warren, I know. You're eating dinner, and the image just, it turns your stomach. I get this. But listen to this. There's some good news. WBUR poll. Republican Governor Baker, Massachusetts, more popular than Democrat Senator Warren. I think an ingrown toenail is more popular with Senator Warren in many quarters of the country. Over 4 years in office, Elizabeth Warren has staked her claim as the Senate's liberal lion. And many Massachusetts voters like it. 51% view her favorably. Oh well. But according to a new WBUR poll, only 44% think Warren deserves re-election. 46% think voters ought to give someone else a chance. I like this. No one's going to look at a 44% re-elect number and think that's a good number, said Steve Kozla, president of the Mass Inc. polling group, which conducts surveys for WBUR. No one's going to look at it being close to even between re-elect and give someone else a chance and think that's reassuring. Warren's numbers contrast sharply with those of Governor Charlie Baker, Republican. His favorability rating is 59%, 8 points better than Warren. But what's more striking, only 29% of poll respondents think someone else should get a chance at the governor's office. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, if the moderate to liberal governor of Massachusetts runs against the Leninist-Stalinist senator from Massachusetts, he will clean her clock. So I would like to encourage the governor of Massachusetts, not because I'm any big fan or special pleader, it doesn't matter, to run against Elizabeth Warren, a man of the people. I mean, a woman of the men, whatever. You understand the point. A woman of the people. Which people? Everybody claims to be a Hey, I'm the real populist. No, I'm the populist. No, I'm the populist. Let's take some calls, shall we? Oh, we have to take a break. I'll be right back. Bernie Sanders, a.k.a. Bernie the Red, has announced that he looks forward to working with Trump on trade. This is exactly my point. Exactly my point. Does that send up any signals to anybody? No, we're all for the people. Is that all it takes? Just say you're for the people? No, that's not right. Levin TV tonight. Our second part and our last part in my interview of Ted Cruz like you've never seen him before. Really. And we have a 7-day free trial. If you'd like to join up on our network, Conservative Review TV, CRTV, you'll never see us hire a former propagandist at the State Department for the Obama administration. Not interested. But if you check it out tonight, if you sign up tonight, you get 7 days free. If you don't like it, you can leave. You can drop it. It's that simple. It's risk-free. But you can also check it out, and if you do like it, I hope you'll join us like so many others have. But tonight is the perfect night to do it. Here's a short clip. Go ahead.
There are about 50 majority Muslim countries in the world. There's one Jewish state. And yet, for Obama and Kerry, one Jewish state is one too many. You cannot have, in their view, a Jewish state. They're perfectly fine. You know, as you know, Israel has elected Muslims, elected Arabs, elected Christians in the Knesset. Point to me one elected Jewish official in any Muslim country on earth.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.
I mean, he was really unbelievable. He was laying it all out there with Russia, with Cuba, with on and on and on. And you're going to love it. And when you watch it again, the first part and the second part, you're going to see how fascinating it is and how important these long-form interviews are, which I've brought back to TV, you know, without interruption. So I think you'll like it very, very much. A dear friend of mine, co-founder of the biggest Tea Party organization in America, Tea Party Patriots, Jenny Beth Martin. How are you, my friend?
I am great, Mark. It's so good to talk to you tonight.
And it's good to talk to you. Two things. You and your organization, because you're the biggest of the Tea Party organizations, have been under attack relentlessly for years. And not just by the Democrats, Obama, and the media, by Republicans and the Republican establishment. And you and millions of others led this rebellion against the establishment that first resulted in taking over the House, then the Senate, and then the presidency. So I am going to salute you and the Tea Party Patriots and the, other Tea Party groups and individuals, millions of people who were involved in this, the true silent majority. So I want to thank you. That's number one.
Thank you
Number
so
two.
much, Mark.
Number two, it looks like the Democrats, it's all over the media, starting in the New York Slimes with Jonathan Martin. They're saying, hey, we need a Tea Party group. We got to organize a Tea Party group. They don't get it, do they? You didn't organize. It was spontaneous, and you organized around that.
It was spontaneous, and we organized around a specific legislative issue. The first thing that we organized around was the stimulus bill that was rushing through Congress, and that was on the heels of seeing TARP pass in 2008. And then we organized against the stimulus bill, and we stood for fiscal responsibility. And then we also wound up very shortly after that opposing Obamacare and standing for health care freedom. And every time that we were standing against something, we always made sure that we were standing for our core principles, which are constitutionally limited government, free markets, and fiscal responsibility. Or the way we say it now, personal freedom, economic freedom, and a debt-free future.
The Tea Party is a quintessential constitutional conservative entity, and it revolted against first the end of the Bush administration with TARP, then what Obama did as he picked up. These people say the Democrat Party needs to create a Tea Party. The Republican Party didn't create a Tea Party. This thing was created, as we just discussed, first to address what Bush had done and then to address what Obama was doing and the Republican Congress, correct?
That is absolutely right. And we were, the first round of Tea Parties, it was on February 27th, 2009. There were 48 Tea Parties around the country. And these were just normal Americans who were fed up with what was happening across the country. Now, some of us, like me, had been active as a volunteer in politics, but there weren't 50 different national organizations standing behind us, paying for it and helping us organize. It was us doing it on our own. When I watched what I saw on Saturday, you had Planned Parenthood and NOW and 48 other organizations who were sponsoring the event and paying for it. It's completely different than what we were.
Yeah, because they are creating a Potemkin village, and you're the real thing. The other thing is, as the years went on, and you and I worked very closely together, as the years went on, you came under attack by talk radio types. I'm not going to name names to embarrass you. I could when you're off the air. You came under attack by certain websites who now claim to be populists, but were fronting for guys like Romney and the Republican establishment and defending John Boehner when I and others were trying to remove him. Is that not true?
Oh, it's absolutely true. And some of them, you're absolutely right.
All of a sudden, some of them are now outsiders, right?
Right. They're outsiders, even though some of them attacked us on the air and to our faces for standing up against the continued overspending and broken promises that we saw beginning in January and February of 2011, right after the Republicans got control of the House of Representatives.
And John Boehner attacked you? And Mitch McConnell attacked you?
Mitch McConnell wants to punch us in the nose. And Paul Ryan thinks he is... I don't think Paul Ryan still understands what we're about. I hope that we can find some agreement with these guys and get things done, but I still don't think they completely understand, because we're so different than anything they experienced in the past.
I don't think a lot of people still understand. You weren't part of any of these candidacies. You weren't part of any of these things. You really still aren't. And you laid the foundation many, many years ago, the Tea Party, for the explosion of outrage about what's taken place in this country. And you're still poised to do exactly the same thing should these politicians not deliver as you expect them to. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. You know, Mark, there's something that differentiates us. The thing that differentiates us the absolute most from these people on the left, yeah, they have national organizations supporting them. The thing that really and truly differentiates us, though, is that we love our form of government. We love the fact that we are a representative democracy and that we have the Constitution. And when things don't go the way that we want them to, we still love the system, and we respect the system so much that we work to change within the system. We're not either breaking the law or being violent. We love the Constitution. And the people on the left, it's different. They don't have the same respect for our founding principles, these enduring principles of freedom that your listeners, our supporters, care so much about.
Let me ask you this quickly, not to cause a problem, I'm just curious. Has the administration reached out to you yet?
I have had a little bit of contact with Steve Bannon, because as you know, Steve and I have had a relationship for many years, friendship, but I haven't been in direct touch other than that with the administration. I would really like to be, I hope that they do reach out to us when we finally see the full repeal of Obamacare.
That'll be interesting, won't it? Jenny Beth Martin, if people want to join or contact, where do they go?
They need to go to teapartypatriots.org. Again, that's teapartypatriots.org.
I want to thank you for all you and all your folks have done all these years. God bless you. Be well. I shall return. Let's take a call, shall we? Jim, Williams, Iowa, Sirius Satellite. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you, sir. And yourself?
Very well, thank you.
Well, you know, real quick before I get into what I called about, but, you know, I wish I had a TV set, because I would have loved to see that program with Ted Cruz. Back in the primaries, I said that if the Cruz got appointed and elected, I would have loved to have seen Trump as Secretary of State. If Trump got elected, I'd love to see Cruz as Attorney General. Unfortunately,
well, let me
that's
ask
not
you
the
something.
case,
Do you have an iPhone or an Android or a laptop or a computer?
I do.
Do you have a TV where you can use Roku?
Okay. I'm sorry?
How can I help you with this?
Well, I have a laptop. I have portable Wi-Fi.
All right, then I can help you.
Well,
I know, but hold on, let me just lay that. You can watch the show live at 9 p.m. Eastern, or you can watch it after we post it anytime you want, like when you're in your truck, when you're resting in the cabin, or whatever. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you finish. Before you hang up, you'll give Mr. Producer your number, and we'll get you one. I want you to watch it. You're going to love the interview. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, I was calling about your topic earlier about the infrastructures and what's going on. I'm finding it a little, as a driver, as a coast-to-coast over-the-road driver, I'm finding it hard to believe that there's all this argument about the infrastructure. It's astounding of what is happening in so many of their cities around the country. What comes to mind is Dallas, Atlanta, Chicago. They are creating these modern logistical marvels that when it's all complete, the roadways and the logistical byways around these cities are going to be the most astounding thing. They're going to be the best expressways in the world.
I'll give you an example. You're so right. When I leave the outer suburbs of the Washington metropolitan area, there's construction everywhere. Then when I drive into Maryland, there are byways and highways, one on top of the other, everywhere. And as I go up 95 through Delaware, Pennsylvania, into New Jersey and so forth, it's the same thing. They act like we're not doing anything on roads and bridges and tunnels and so forth. We're doing an enormous amount, and we have been every year, have we not?
Well, absolutely. And, Anthony, it's no longer just, getting the bulldozer, plowing a road and laying down some asphalt. If you've done that, if you've been driving around and you've been seeing the construction, the technology that they're left. There's so many times I wanted to pull over and ask the guys, what is this and what is this and how is this? Because
some of it's a little much, though, isn't it? I mean, some of these overpasses, I'm going, why did they do that? Some of it's much. Here's what happens. Here's what's happening with a lot of this money, Jim. They say our bridges are crumbling and this is happening and this is happening, which is kind of how liberals spend money. They create these emergency situations. Typically what happens is they use it for new construction. They're not using it for existing bridges and roads and tunnels. They use it for new construction. And so every politician's thrilled. Republican, Democrat, or in between, local, state, and federal, they love cutting ribbons and taking credit for this stuff.
Well, yeah, but what's happening in Dallas and again Chicago, Atlanta, what they're doing is they're not just maintaining.
I'm agreeing with you.
They're building incredible new entire ramp systems, new bridges, widening the roads with all this new incredible pavement that is astounding. You drive on it,
So why don't they say that's where the money's going to go rather than we're going to fix our bridges? Because they want you to have in your mind, as in the past, where bridges actually crumble and cars fall into the rivers. And so that's what they want you to have in mind. And yet with all the spending over all the decades, from time to time, it still happens. All right, Jim, be safe out there. Thank you for your call, my friend. Let's continue, shall we? Janice, Dallas, Texas, the great WBAP. Go.
Mark Levin, thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Thank you.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. I have you really lower in the background. So you have given me an education for me over 5 or 6 years. My son, who is 10, will be 10 this April, has been listening to you with me in the car, going back and forth from daycare and work since he's 5.
That's
you
great.
say, turn him off, he's screaming, but however, I love you no matter what.
Thank
but
you.
I've been teaching him. You're getting an education, whether you realize it or not. And, well, you get, I turn it down, and then we go back up, and I'm like, pay attention now. He's 10. And he's like, Mom, this guy's really smart. He gets it now. He's listening. I am so proud of him. I'm so thankful to you, and I'm going to get emotional because he learned. No, I'm not going to cry, I promise. He is learning about, or had started learning 3rd grade. He's in 4th grade. Will be in 5th, but he learned last year about the presidential election and the Senate and the Congress, and he's come home with this, and we're going through it. And so I said, this is very important. This is like a milestone in what we're doing because it's a presidential election. So I went through and asked, you really need to pay attention, and he is now listening to you. So when I get home now, after we do homework and we eat, and it's a little later than earlier because we listen to you on the radio. I have it in my kitchen. And he's listening, and so I just want to thank you. And
what is your son's first name?
His name's Max.
Max or Mac?
Yes, Max. Yes, sir.
Max. I'm going to tell you what, Mr. Producer. Do we have my dad's 2 Lincoln books and the Washington book? Let's go those 3 books together, and the book, and you have a Proverbs book too. Let's get those 4 books together and send them to my buddy Max. Okay, Janice.
Mark,
don't.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're a sweetheart. Don't hang up, Janice. Thank you very, very much. And Mr. Producer, Carl Rove was back on Fox. I thought he was in the Witness Protection Program. Now, it looks like he's got that damn whiteboard. Him and Eric Bowling, I think they steal the whiteboards from each other. Of course, that was not their original idea, but they do like their whiteboards. Let's continue. Ryan! Columbus, Ohio, the great WTVN, a 50,000-watt killer. How are you?
Good, good. Hope you're doing well, Mark.
Very well, thank you.
I'm here calling about...
By the way, you have a hell of a hockey team there.
Oh, yeah. I'm calling about that crazy woman from Idaho who was talking about putting down white people for their implicit racism and their implicit bias, all this nonsense. And yesterday, actually, my school celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so a week late.
Right.
And we had all of these events, basically, that are about social justice and egalitarianism and all that kind of stuff. The school invited...
How about a freedom? How about freedom? That's what the basic,
yeah.
the bottom line was with Martin Luther King. Freedom, that we should be treated equally under the law. Justice. In other words, the Declaration of... were you taught the Declaration of Independence at all? Was that studied yesterday?
Unfortunately, it was not. And they had a...
Wait. Is this a public school or a college? Where are you?
It is a liberal arts school. So, yeah, it's private school, yeah.
What are you doing going to this school? Your parents are paying a lot of money. You're going to a private school. Get the hell out of there.
And then it gets even more crazy. So
but do you understand what I'm saying? You talk with your feet.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
I think we've talked before about this actually, like last a couple months ago. Yeah, I'm still at the same school. But what happened next was when I went into the presentation, the first 5 rows of the auditorium were reserved, and the sign said, reserved for audience members who identify as black or African American. Can you believe that? And the presentation was about police brutality and all this nonsense.
All right, listen to me. Get out of there. And I'm not kidding. Finish your new semester and stop it.
Yeah.
Are you going to or not?
I'd like to, but I don't know.
There are other schools around the country. Is this a religiously inclined school or not?
No. It used to be, but now it's secular.
Well, why don't you try applying to Hillsdale College?
Yeah. I mean, my GPA.
Okay, well, get on with it.
Yeah.
I can't fix that damn school. Sounds like an absolute crazy place.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan. I've had enough. I can't take it anymore. The school. I'm telling you what to do. Leave. It's still America. You can leave. So leave. Right, Mr. Producer? I'll be right back, yes.
Hey, Al, I just saw Inconvenient.
Oh, great. Thank you.
You know what? My friends make fun of me about the 10-year tipping point. What do I tell them?
Well, we've got to keep working.
Okay.
What an idiot. That's a lady, obviously, mocking Gore. The 10-year tipping point. We looked this up. The moment human carbon emissions push the planet over the brink, and Planet Armageddon becomes, what? Unstoppable. That's the 10-year deal with Al Gore. Now, one of these days, somebody's going to produce a course on populism, nationalism, agrarianism, mercantilism, so we can all learn what it is that we're supposed to be. Don't you think? Where do we go for that course, ladies and gentlemen? Is it on the Internet? Is it on any of the websites that burp this stuff up and promote it? Who's the founding father of populism, nationalism, agrarianism, mercantilism? Truthfully. No offense, I'm just saying. I believe in eternal truths, unalienable rights. I can tell you where that stuff comes from. I believe in all those things. All right. I'll stop poking at that crowd. But not tomorrow. Let's go. Robert, Middletown, Connecticut, Sirius Satellite, go.
Good evening, Mark. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to say every night I thank the Lord that you're on the radio.
Thank you.
I have had Levin TV from day one, and it is great.
You like it? Thank you.
It's fabulous. And the improvement with the other moderators, very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
I called to talk about electronic medical records. I'm a physician, and this is the quintessential example of crony capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
I use electronic medical records, not because it is better for patient care, not because it improves the doctor-patient relationship, but because it's in Obamacare, and I've been forced to do it. And it's a huge burden, a burden in time and effort. I do charts all night, I do charts all weekend, I've done charts on vacation. I know doctors who have retired early because of electronic medical records. I know doctors who have quit in the middle of their careers because of electronic medical records. And I can tell you that I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure there are plenty of doctors who will tell you they love it. But to be honest with you, I'm sure there are plenty of people...
I haven't met that doctor yet.
There are plenty of people in your audience who can relate to having sat down with the doctor, and the doctor did not look at them in the face, but rather stared down at the laptop and typed away. This is a huge problem. But I will reassure that salesman who works for the software company.
Yeah, who's so concerned that if Obamacare goes, he'll lose his job.
It's so entrenched, it's going nowhere, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of these Republicans and their idiotic proposals that if a state likes Obamacare, they can keep it, which means you and I have to keep paying for it? They're not talking about eliminating any of the data keeping that you're dealing with. They're not talking about eliminating any of the costs that are destroying insurance companies. I mean, well, what? Then what are they repealing exactly?
I mean, I may be naive when I say this. It's several simple words.
I mean, I want to make America great again.
Absolutely, and campaign promises need to be fulfilled. It's simple. Just say the Affordable Care Act is hereby repealed. Period, and we vote.
Yeah, and let's try a market system where insurance companies can offer whatever plans they want, and people can have plans soup to nuts. They can have catastrophic care. They can have this or that. Instead, we destroy the whole system for two types of people. One, people who don't buy insurance before they get sick, and two, people who are poor and are complaining they don't get the kind of insurance that they want. I think that's ridiculous. All right, my friend, you hang in there. I don't know the exact answer to all these things. Ladies and gentlemen, that show went extremely quickly, didn't it? Trust me, you're going to love Levin TV tonight, all right? Tune in, check it out, sign up. You get a whole week trial, free. We want to salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, and emergency personnel, and you, my beloved audience. God bless each and every one of you. I'll see you on the radio tomorrow. I'll see you on Levin TV in 2 minutes.